Hey, welcome back, guys. Snowfall has returned for one final and inevitably tragic hurrah before calling it a series for good. Based on the images that preceded the double premiere, this season finds Franklin's world crashing down all around him. Everything's burning to the ground, most notably his relationship with his family and once business partners turned adversaries, leaving Saint searching for a way out of the ashes of his former glory. I'm here to break it all down in typical Top 10 WTF fashion. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Also, big thank you to all of my channel donors. If you'd like to be the next one, drop $1 on that Cash App for us. And lastly, a spoiler alert is now in effect for all things Snowfall. Here we go. WTF Moment Number 10, The Turmoil of Tisha. The episode begins from the perspective of a young child sadly awaiting her father's return home. She informs her grandfather that he never made it, and subsequently discovers that he'd been executed outside of what we learned to be Jerome and Louie's business. Apparently, her dad was employed by the criminal duo and taken out by Franklin in the aftermath of his official split from Louie, which nearly turned fatal itself. Following that split, Saint went on a rampage to recover some semblance of what had been stolen from him, both monetarily and from a dignity perspective. Will Daniels, Tisha's father, just so happened to be in the path of that rampage. His death, along with Tisha's inclusion in the opening sequence, conveys to the audience that Franklin's family feud won't just be limited to the family itself, but it will affect every life that hangs between the bitter blood. This is emphasized more in the classic Snowfall title, which is engulfed in bad blood. Tisha's story was merely an external example, but further damage will occur closer to home for our main ensemble, and this was just an inkling of how real things are about to get. WTF Moment Number 9, Unbalanced Equilibrium. In the aftermath of Avi's death, and on the search for his missing muse, Teddy pays Leor a visit, who's taken over the Israeli mob in Avi's absence, in order to offer him assistance in discovering Avi's true killer. However, the defiant new boss, still vengeful about Teddy robbing him of half of his hearing in that gunfire fiasco back in Season 4, tells Teddy where he can go with his offer, which is apparently straight to hell, and at gunpoint no less. WTF Moment Number 8, The Right Price. Franklin approaches Big D and offers to sell him bricks to distribute at a lower price point than Jerome and Louie can offer, which he now has the leverage to do as he's no longer bound by an overlord. Big D mulls over the offer, stressing that he has no dog in Franklin's family fight. D ultimately capitulates to Saint's deal and that extra $200K per key, but the transaction doesn't come without consequences. Additionally, Franklin makes a play at Kane's network as well. These maneuvers are in hopes of undercutting his family as they undercut him. WTF Moment Number 7, Money Moves. Franklin is surprised by a red-dressed Veronique, who apprehensively agrees to laundering his stolen drug money after several advances from her fledgling partner. V flaunting the all-red outfit is very telling, because just as it symbolizes boldness, strength, and independence, it also represents riskiness, and the latter will be heavily involved in such an endeavor. WTF Moment Number 6, Eyes Wide Open. After several attempts to get in contact with his nephew, Franklin finally reaches out to his estranged uncle, which goes left than a turn in Michigan. Saint and his uncle Jerome sadly widen that gulf between them during the exchange, ultimately getting nowhere close to a bridge. Then, as if their interaction was intense enough, Louie throws more salt in her husband's wound by revealing that Franklin upped the banger on her during their last confrontation. That revelation only serves to heighten the rage already simmering within Jerome's conflicted soul. WTF Moment Number 5, An Informed Visit. Oso drops by a seedy hotel that's revealed to be an intelligence hub of the DEA, run by Tony Marino. It's further exposed that Gustavo is being used by the DEA as an informant against Teddy, and this visit is to cover his tracks against his former ally. This development in the storyline cements Gustavo's role as Danilo Blandon in theory, the Nicaraguan drug trafficker turned informant by the DEA, who infamously took down Freeway Ricky Ross, who is Franklin in theory, as Teddy is Oliver North in theory. The parallels are very deep and provide insight for those in the know as to what's coming this season. WTF Moment Number 4, Black Diamond in the Rough. In undoubtedly the craziest moment of the premiere, Black Diamond and Dallas complete their transaction with Big D. However, the two hit women are illegally stopped by law enforcement at gunpoint, which was orchestrated by Buckley, his lingering police connections, and ultimately an enraged Jerome. The women are robbed, and Black Diamond is brutally beaten to death by Jerome for information regarding Franklin's stash and his stolen goods. Before a shocked crowd, who represents our collective audience reaction, Jerome continues the onslaught and only ceases to allow Dallas a chance to let Franklin know that it was him behind the insidious deed. WTF Moment Number 3, that Parisa part. The second episode begins with the truth behind Parisa'S disappearance, which was left on a cliffhanger in last season's finale. She was indeed chased by Ruben, but evaded the KGB member only to hit her head and be subsequently hauled in by police. Once Teddy finds her, she reveals a clear picture of her would-be captor, which spells bad news for the Saint family in their scheme against the former CIA lawman. WTF Moment Number 2, a radioactive arrangement. Teddy warns Gustavo of Ruben's presence once procuring the image from Parisa'S memory. Also later matches the image to the figure in Franklin's wedding photo and later meets with him. At a wrestling match, Saint agrees to provide an ID for the unnamed man in exchange for Teddy and his money. Franklin also sweetens the deal by promising Oso $10 million once he gets his money back, leaving him with a warning regarding who he shows the picture to going forward. And WTF Moment Number 1, when the family feuds. Sissy intervenes in Franklin's feud with Jerome, resulting in a sit-down between the once loving family members and business associates. The meeting starts out civil enough, with Saint pleading for peace and Jerome detailing his reasons for moving to LA, Franklin being a major part of that relocation. However, the love once again turns sour as Jerome scolds his nephew and Saint reminds him of why he's in a wealthier position, disrespecting Louis's name in the process, though validly, might I add. Jerome furiously slapped his ego-driven nephew, and Saint subsequently threatened him at gunpoint, as he did with Louis before. Unable to fatally splinter his family, the two leave each other more fractured than ever before, while Tisha, who we were introduced to in the beginning of 601, helplessly watches the two men responsible for her own destroyed family. Some lingering thoughts before we end today's video. The great Malcolm X once stated, in reference to his feud with the Nation of Islam, that, quote, "The only thing I regret in all of this is that two black groups have to fight and kill each other off." That sentiment crept in throughout the tenser aspects of Franklin's conflict with Jerome and Louis. There's honestly only one way this thing is going to go, and thick blood can only go so far before the betrayal becomes too much to bear any longer. Teddy even echoed such thoughts when he stated that, quote, "It's like they don't even have the good sense not to tear each other apart." Although coming from him, this notion is overwhelmingly hypocritical. He's as much to blame for their hostilities as Louis herself. And he's playing to another dynamic that the late minister would often repeat as well: divide and conquer. By entertaining Louis's ambitions, he simultaneously drove a wedge between her and her nephew, which had already begun piercing their relationship from the moment Franklin was wounded by Melody's bullet and Louis took on a larger role in his organization. Thus, although Teddy's message was poetically accurate, he wasn't the messenger to be disseminating it. The premiere airing a day after Malcolm X's assassination date, February 21st, though likely unintended, was poetic as well, given the underlying themes. When Franklin's money was stolen, it wasn't just limited to that. His dream, an American dream, was stolen along with it. The most hurtful reality of this, from his perspective, was that it was stolen by the very people he was building it for. His retaliation, rather our assessment of it, must begin here, because everything Franklin has stolen since, Jerome and Louis's money, distributors, and adversaries, has been an effort in recovering back what they stole from him. The very thing that meant everything. The thing that he's been building brick by brick, as he would say it, since the series' inception. And lastly, Episode 2 was aptly titled The Sit Down, and it literally involved a series of tense conversations between two opposing sides seeking to place aside their differences to achieve a desired outcome. The meetings, Franklin and Ruben, Franklin and Cassandra, Franklin and Kane, Franklin and Oso, and lastly, Franklin and Jerome, were all tense in nature, yet necessary building blocks to what's certain to be a tragic final campaign. And that'll do it for this one. What were your thoughts on Snowfall's double premiere? Be sure to drop me your opinions in the comments below. As always, I thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and drop $1 on that Cash App for us, hit the like button, share it with your friends who are fans of Snowfall, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.